So here's the thing. If you are tired but wired, meaning that you get into bed and literally the light switch goes off, you start to feel palpitations, you start to feel anxious, you start tossing and turning, you have insomnia and your nervous system has been hijacked. Here's how you fix it. It's not more sleep hygiene. It's not about stopping the caffeine. It's not about making your bedroom pitch black. It's about finding the strategies that actually work to help you calm down that nervous system. And in this insomnia series, we've been talking about the three main systems that regulate your sleep drive, the circadian rhythm, and the third piece is your arousal system. And listen, if any one of these three is out of whack, that might be the reason why you're struggling so much. And here's the thing about that arousal system, it actually overrides your sleep drive and your circadian rhythm such that you're sleepy. You've been awake for hours and hours. So your sleep drive is not just high, it is super high. It's perfect. You're not going into bed before 12 midnight because that's when you're most likely to go to sleep. And you've optimized your circadian rhythm. You're regularly going to bed at the right time. You're regularly waking up at the right time. And you still are not able to go to sleep. This is such a big issue when it comes to people with arousal, with insomnia. So what is that arousal system? Arousal system is really about that nervous system being either calm enough or overactive. And it's your brain's way of detecting whether you feel safe or not. So if you think about it, we have a primitive part of our brain, which has been shown to always protect us. We need that sort of fight flight response to kick in at the right time, right? If you're outside and a car is coming, or you're at a zoo and the lion let's loose, that system is what says, get your feet up and run for your life, right? And that system should sort of regulate when there's not a threat around. It should be able to calm things down to say, we are safe, nothing to do here. There's no saber-tooth tiger. There's no lion on the loose. Let's go to sleep. But because you've struggled with insomnia for so long, or maybe you're someone who's always been anxious and worried about your sleep, your brain starts to see wakefulness as a threat, meaning that you look at the bed and it's like, it's a saber-tooth tiger. The lion is on the loose. Run for your life. And you can imagine it's not a bad thing. It is not a bad thing. And this is where people miss it. They start to blame themselves. Why can't I sleep? I'm trying so hard. I'm so tired of myself. I'm tired of this, that, and the other. It's literally your brain's way of saying, I just want to keep you safe. So instead of doing that, I want you to say, thank you, dear brain, but we're actually safe. Now, what are the things that can happen when you have a hard time sleeping, right? So for instance, you had something happen in your life, big, sad or not sad, but big. It could be a change of your job. It could be a big travel. It could be a change in status where you went from married to being from married to divorced, or from being single to married, or having a kid, or loss of a loved one. It's a big life change, and that may have triggered a few days of poor sleep. And so now you start to anticipate that, oh my goodness, I can't sleep. I had a rough day. And your brain starts to make these conclusions. Bad sleep, horrible day. I cannot afford not to sleep. And so before you know it, your brain starts to sense feelings of frustration, of anxiety, of anger, of rumination. And I've even had people say, oh, you know what? I'm not even worried. I'm not anxious. I'm calm, but my thoughts are going. I'm thinking about the lists of things I need to do, or I'm thinking about something that happened when I was in middle school, or I'm thinking of a song that doesn't stop playing. If any of that resonates with you, I definitely want to hear that, right? And so it creates this feedback loop. And at the end of the day, it gives the same result. Poor sleep, more frustration equals poor sleep. And there are three different types of arousal you might have. You might have physical arousal. So what is that? It's that feeling of, palpitations. Your hands feel sweaty. You're moving around, tossing and turning. You can't seem to find a comfortable space. You may feel like a chest pain or pressure. You may feel like your heart is pumping, and you can actually hear it in your ears, right? So if that resonates with you, let me know. So those are physical arousals. And then another type of arousal system that you might have that could hijack your sleep is sort of the mental arousal, right? So these are the ruminations, thinking of that list, the list of things to do, thinking of that email you need to send, thinking of those goals, the ambitions, thinking about what's going on in the world, thinking about just, all the different, things that end up taking up so much of your mental space. So what will happen? Of course, when you're playing all those things in, it creates this cycle where you're not able to sleep. The third type is sort of that emotional arousal, right? So it might be fear, it might be frustration, it might be anger, it might be anxiety, it might be worries. And all of this may be related to either your ability of to not sleep or your inability to sleep or something completely different. At the end of the day, what you get is no sleep. So how do we take back nervous system which has been hijacked either physically, mentally, or emotionally? The goal is calming down that arousal system. Going to that space where you start to reassure your brain that you are safe, you thank it, and you say, we're okay, right? And so I have a few strategies for you. Number one is we need to change your relationship with sleep. And I know that's really hard because sleep is important and you've read it. If you don't sleep well, you're going to have dementia, you're going to have a stroke, you're going to die, right? So you start to make all of these deductions, which are very scary. Change your relationship with sleep, meaning that let it not be something that you're trying to white knuckle. I'm so desperate for sleep because sleep becomes more elusive the more we chase after it. There's literally nothing you can do intentionally to make yourself sleep. It's impossible, right? You can only set the environment to make yourself sleep. Optimized sleep drive, optimized circadian rhythm, calm nervous system. That's all you can do. So stop chasing after sleep. Stop looking at this sleep as something you have to try hard as. Start to look more towards more effortless sleep. Because if you think about people who sleep well, they don't tell you, yeah, I sleep with my right arm under my left, under my head. I sleep with my pillow this way. I have to have, blackout shades. No, they just tell you, I don't know what to tell you. I sleep. In fact, these are the people that are scrolling on their phones. They're watching TV in bed. Their rooms brightly lit. There's music in the background. They sleep because sleep is not something you pursue and you chase after. You can only create the right conditions. So that's the first mindset, really saying, okay, why am I chasing sleep and how can I stop? How can I sort of change that relationship with sleep? That's number one. The number two thing is if you get into a system where you are spiraling, right? Literally, your heart is pumping, your heart is racing, you're trying, you're tossing, turning, and you're staying in bed, it's probably not an effective strategy. And you might want to get out of bed and just do something you enjoy. People tell you, oh, you must do something calm and boring. Like, I don't want to do anything boring. Then it feels like I'm being punished for being awake. Do something you enjoy. What do you enjoy? Do you enjoy watching TV? Do you enjoy, just looking at some pictures in an album? Do you enjoy scrapbooking? Do you enjoy coloring? Something calming, not too activating, right? So that you don't miss sleep, but do something you enjoy for a few minutes. And then when you start to feel sleepy, when you start to feel that, that being on edge is sort of, kind of de-escalating, get back into bed. Get back into bed. And you may get back into bed and that cycle starts again. So you may need to do it a couple of times, but it's okay. You're not chasing sleep anymore. We're going to let sleep come by creating the right environment. Number three, I want you to do is address daytime stress and anxiety. One of the things I cannot stand is when people say, oh yeah, just manage your stress and you'll sleep fine. Well, if it was that easy, everybody would be like in the yoga poses all day, right? It's not that easy, but it's something you can move towards to say, what are the things that aggravate me? What are the things that are leading to just all these thoughts, right? It may be related to not having boundaries at work, in which case, okay, how do I set those boundaries at work? It may be related to having some difficult conversations, which is, what do I do to optimize that? It may be things like taking a walk during the day. It may be things like exercising, right? Find the things you need. It may involve finding a therapist or someone you could talk to about what's causing you a lot of stress and anxiety, because you cannot have chaos during the day and then just assume that sleep is going to be perfect, right? So really try to manage that daytime chaos as best as you can. that will move you towards more restful sleep. So that's the third thing. And then number four, I think this is a given, and I'm sure many of you have this already, which is establish a wind down routine. And some may need to be longer than others, depending on how hijacked you feel, right? Finding those rituals, those activities that can help you calm down, that can help you sort of reset your nervous system. Doing some breathing exercises, having a warm bath, listening to some music, listening to a podcast, doing some of the progressive muscle relaxation, really bringing that self from that very activated state to a state where you are less activated. Wind down routines, and you have to find what works for you. This is why I don't script what should be part of your wind down routine. You figure out what works the best for you, and then you just adopt that. So that's really, really key. And then the one other thing I would say is practicing mindfulness and acceptance. This is so critical. Practicing mindfulness and acceptance. So, why is practicing mindfulness and acceptance important? Because it's going to take you from that really amped up sympathetic stage to parasympathetic, which is sort of the rest and digest. So, what does that look like in real life? Well, it looks like, again, mindfulness is really about being in the present moment, right? It may be meditation for you, it may be reading, it may be journaling, it may be prayer, it may be, practicing gratitude. And this is one thing I would say, this is the only one thing that I would say I would encourage you highly to incorporate into your schedule. Practicing gratitude. What are three things that worked well today? Because here's the thing with insomnia. When you are hyper focused on what is not working, aka your sleep, you lose sight of the miracle that is happening around you. So being able to say, I'm going to draw my attention to what is working, it's going to let that feeling of that discomfort you have about not sleeping well, it kind of goes into the periphery. So really get to that point where you are practicing gratitude. What worked well today? What did I learn about myself today? What am I looking forward to for tomorrow, right? That is something that you could do. It could mean, again, taking some time to take some deep diaphragmatic breaths and just say, you know what? It might not be a perfect night, but I'm thankful for where I am, right? It's really, again, being kind to yourself. What would you tell that 5-year-old version of yourself who's struggling with sleep? Would you say, can't you try harder? Come on, try harder. No, you would say, you know what? Let's get you a warm blanket. Let's get you to hug your lovey really tightly, right? You would be kind to that version of you. So being kind to yourself, like channel that kindness you will give towards somebody else, channel it to you. Right? So being kind to yourself, meditation, being present, those are things that are so powerful. And then the final thing I would say is cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia. This is actually the gold standard treatment for insomnia, where we're really looking at the thoughts, the habits, the attitudes that we have regarding our sleep, right? I'm not going to sleep well. It's going to be doomsday tomorrow. How do we change and restructure those thoughts? How do we practice mindfulness? How do we practice acceptance? How do we do things like stimulus control, cognitive restructuring? How are we establishing the right habits? How do we make sure that we're going to bed at the right time, waking up at the right time? We sort of encompass all those things that are addressing the sleep drive, addressing your circadian rhythm, addressing your arousal system. We put it into this program. It's about a 6 to 8 session program where we're setting goals and we're moving you from that state of discomfort with wakefulness to a place where you can go to sleep, stay asleep effortlessly. And this is one of the programs we offer at the Restful Sleep Place. So if you're at that point and you followed the series of videos and you're like, you know what, I'm ready to take the next step, come check us out at the restfulsleepplace.com, where we'll be able to walk you through what that journey looks like. So we've covered a lot in this, and we'll just keep talking through some of the other issues that get in your way of restful sleep so that you can move again from struggling with sleep to effortless sleep. And I look forward to talking to you next time. And until then, I hope you rest well.